Human trafficking is a $150 billion industry. In 2016 alone, Unbound, an anti-human trafficking organization in Fort Worth, Texas, counted 313,000 human trafficking victims. 79,000 of these were minors. As you can see, human trafficking is a global as well as a local issue. As Christians and members of society, we all have a need to understand that human trafficking still exists and advocate for it. In terms of credibility, I'm a part of the International Justice Mission, which is an organization that fights human trafficking. I'm a leader on ACU's campus for IJM and have been for over 2 years. So as well as knowing about human trafficking in IJM, I've also done research for this presentation. In this speech, I'm going to encourage you to donate and advocate for anti-human trafficking organizations. I'm first going to inform you of the work that these organizations do, as well as what human trafficking is. Second, I'm going to tell you why you should get involved and how this impacts you personally. And third, I'm going to explain how you actually can get involved. Before you can make a difference, you do need to know about what human trafficking is and the organizations that fight human trafficking. All these organizations do very important work for the community that's necessary. So first off, what is human trafficking? A lot of people know about sex trafficking, but there's also things called labor trafficking, where people don't get paid, but they work on fishing boats for hours and hours or in brick factories. And it's basically like modern day slavery. The Department of Health and Human Services describes one of their big goals against human trafficking to develop anti-trafficking strategies, policies, and programs to prevent trafficking. This is what most anti-human trafficking organizations do. They also provide services to the victims after they're rescued. So this could be emotional, like counseling, or finding them jobs, or helping reintroduce them to society. Now that you have a little bit of an understanding about what these organizations do, I'm going to explain why you should get involved or want to. And the main reason is that this impacts all of us. As I said previously, in that 2016 study in Fort Worth, there were 313,000 human trafficking victims in Texas. So this is happening all around us. I know a few years ago, there was a case of human trafficking in one of our local malls where a girl was almost kidnapped. So another thing is the Office of Justice Programs says that over 90% of sex trafficking victims are women, and women make up 2/3 of this audience. Third, I know all of you are Christians, and the Bible calls us to speak up for those who are oppressed. And those who are in human trafficking are very oppressed people. So now that you know a little bit about why you should care and get involved in this, I'm going to share how you can take the next step. You can make a difference in the world by advocating and donating your time and money to anti-human trafficking organizations. The first big thing you can do is know the signs of human trafficking and educate others. So I have this graphic provided by the Attorney General's office, and it has red flags for human trafficking, specifically labor trafficking. So some of the red flags of labor trafficking would include working long or excessive hours, being transported to and from work by their employer, not being allowed to speak for themselves, living where they work or in large groups, identification documents held by a third party, or people being fearful of authorities. Another way that you can help advocate for human trafficking is by telling others that this is still an issue. A lot of people don't know that human trafficking still exists and that it is basically slavery in today's world. The third way you can help is by actually donating money to organizations such as the International Justice Mission. And you can do this by going to ijm.com/give. And this would help to fund rescue missions where they would actually go take people out of human trafficking situations. So educating and donating comes from a heart and desire to change the world. As you can see, human trafficking is still a big issue that you should have the desire to help stop. So, in review, now we know what human trafficking is and how prevalent it is still in the world today. We can see that it's not just a global, but a personal issue. And we can act on this conviction by advocating for anti-human trafficking. I want to end by a quote from William Faulkner. Never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth and compassion against injustice and lying and greed. If people all over the world would do this, it would change the earth. I hope you now have a better understanding of human trafficking and a desire to donate and advocate for this cause. Thank you.